reposition, and operate. How do we do that? We already know that how to rethink, right? And to renew the mind. To reposition ourselves, what do we need to do to effectively reposition ourselves as it relates to what it is that we know that God may be telling us to do? As it relates to, let's say that if you are, well, I'll use plain as looking for a job, a career move. How do we reposition ourselves? Because I'm gonna tell you, when I was terminated from a job, and first of all, just to even say that I was terminated, that was like a blow. That was beyond devastating. I'm like, me?
Fired? You know, we say terminated, but you got nobody to fire me.
Yeah. And especially when I know that I was wrong, that all this other stuff that goes with it. But the bottom line, I was fired. Fired. I was fired. And I'm sitting there, it was like, how do I reposition myself from that? Because the enemy gonna tell you all kind of things. You ain't good enough.
That's right.
They didn't want you, and the other company ain't gonna want you either. I mean, and it really make you sit back, and I had to sit back and I had to rethink some things. I'm like, okay, well, how do I reposition myself now? What do I, because I can't quit. I can't quit looking and searching and all this other stuff. It's like, okay, well, what do I do? Sometimes repositioning ourselves as when you're looking for another career or making a career move, maybe you need to go to school.
That's right.
Yeah. Maybe you need to go to school, and maybe you need to actively sow your talents and your gifts.
That's right.
One of the things that I said, now I know that I'm very good at administration and all this other stuff or whatever, but I was like, how can maybe I need to sow my talents and my gifts into somebody else's organization for free or for very little pay. So it's like, what are some of the things that you've done personally to kind of reposition yourself when you've seen that this is going
haywire?
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I did when I and talking about career change and trying to go back into the workforce, I didn't work for quite some time. Actually, when my daughter turned 13, I stopped working to focus on being home with her because I have some things that God has spoke to me that I need to accomplish in her life, help her accomplish in her life, and I focused on that. But then as my children got older and I was ready to go back into the workforce, I felt like, and you have to remember that I come from old school where we came from, most of our jobs we worked in factory work and things like that. But now here's a whole generation that passed me by, and everything now is technology, computers, and I didn't have any technical skills, didn't know how to work on the computer, but God was saying to me, you can do this, and this is the way, the place I want you to go. And fear, first of all, gripped my heart. I'm like, I don't know nothing. But through hearing from God and through prayer, I had to take the first step. I had to trust that the voice that I heard was the voice of God, and then I had to go and take the first step. And I started out small. I went to a small little company that gave me a chance with no experience. I looked for a career, an entry-level place. And I started there, just answering the phone and entering data. Can't even type, girl. Couldn't even type. Couldn't even type. Woo, girl. Terrible. But somebody gave me an opportunity. And I went there. And then God said, okay, it's time for you to step up and go to the next place. And then I applied for a job with a major credit card company. And took the test first and failed. Was devastated. Okay, I'm gonna give up. I can't do this. I don't know nothing about this. I'm gonna seek a job in what I know. God said 6 months later, go and take the test again. I went to take the test again. The oldest person in the class, first of all. Last person sitting at the table taking the test. Everybody else gone. Everybody pecking and typing, and I'm. But say all that, I passed the test and I got the job. Went through the training. Every day my husband would drop me off to work, and girl, when we got there, we would stop and I'd grab his hand and I'd just say, pray, honey, pray. And he would pray over me that God would open my mind, that I would retain the knowledge and I would gain the knowledge. But God blessed me. I was able to walk when I started taking the steps. they started coming together, and I gained the skills that I needed to do the job, and they grew my confidence.
Right.
You know, and then I began to see where God was leading me to, and I took that. Not only was it just about, not about being the career move, but a lot of the girls that I work with, I was able to minister to them. I was able to pour into them by me and being older than them and some of the things that they were dealing with in their life. So I started to see the plan of God come together.
Right.
But it was, girl, I wanted to quit.
Right.
I'm going to go home. The teacher said, turn on the typewriter. The computer, not a typewriter.
Right.
Everybody turn on the typewriter. I'm still looking for the on button.
Right.
But let me tell you, when you're obedient, God will send somebody in your path. How do you go from, you know, making the choice to be obedient and walking out what God has said, asked you to do, and you get to this place? What is the next step? Well, how did you take the next step to keep walking in that instead of reverting and saying, I'm going home to California?
And what was the next step? What
was the next step?
Well, the next step was, again, going back to reading the Word, and I can't really give you the exact particular, specific scripture that, because it was His Word that, again, that's keeping me, and it's what keep coming right now to my mind is, taking that step by step. He's with me in following Christ. You have to really you got to die to self completely.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do.
Right.
I mean, when it says talking about really hearing, and the hearing comes through His Word and through other people, through other Christians. But how I was able to continue to go forward, I did some volunteer work, and that wasn't the answer. I was going back to work as a teacher's aide.
Okay.
And I did that for from March to May, volunteering. And then from there, I went to school. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm here. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
And I kept listening to the radio and listening to where they kept saying ACC, Atlanta Christian College. I would drive past those big old billboards, Atlanta Christian College. It's like, okay, Lord, am I supposed to go to Atlanta Christian College? And then, yes, the door opened for me. Again, I'm not working. Okay, God is supporting me, financially through some other sorts of means. And it's like, okay, Lord. But anyway, my next step was to go to school. And by me going to school, it made me feel a little bit more comfortable here.
Okay.
Because I was able to meet other people and stuff like that. Because I was like, okay, Lord, I know I'm not supposed to stay in this hotel forever. So how am I going to get up out of here? But again, God blessed me to get up out of the hotel and into a 2-bedroom apartment. Mind you, I am not working. Okay? And trying to get into an apartment, I thought because my credit was going to be bad. But again, when you're doing what God says do, He opens up doors for you. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's all about, again, it's hearing and knowing that you've heard, which helped me to continue to make that step. You know what I'm saying? I am still faith walking. You hear me?
Right.
Okay, I'm not working. And it's all by the grace of God. Because of the obedience, I continue to be able to make that step. And following Christ. Which is helping me to get from A to B. And now I'm at B, trying to get over to C. Trying to get a job. I'm going to have to get a job.
And I like what you said when you talked about just hearing the voice of God and taking that next step. And, when you were talking about going to school, what we have to understand that God doesn't give us the whole picture at one time. It is a process, and it is a step-by-step process. And, by you going to school, I would like to say to somebody else out there that may be the first step. That God has a great plan for all of us. We absolutely understand that. But He has to also prepare you for the plan that He has for you. And His plan for you is so great. But He's saying, this is the first step. I need you to go to school. I need you to take these classes. Because I'm going to use you in a certain area. And I need you to be prepared for that. So that's with all of us. So whatever God is saying to you, if you may seem a minute thing or may not seem like it's a doable thing for you to do. But this is what God is saying. Okay, I need you to do this right now. And the rest of it will come down the road. Even what you do when you were talking about looking for a job and repositioning yourself and volunteering, I like that because you are actually asking God, okay, I'm not working. Yes, I was fired. I didn't like to be fired, but this is what it is right now.
Right.
So where do you need me to go from here?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever God said, that I'm ready to walk in that. If it said I need to go volunteer my time and do that, but you don't know what God has in store for you in volunteering.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It's part of His plan.
Absolutely.
When my husband and I were coming here, when we came here from Miami, we closed the doors of our church. People say you're crazy. We picked up and we came here. I sat by myself in a house. My husband went to work. I was there by myself. I didn't have nothing but to do but talk to God. And I'm saying, what do you want me to do? I'm here. Why did you call me here? I feel like I'm on the backside of the desert, but I know you said for us to come here. With that being said, God began to talk to me. He gave me part of the plan and part of the vision. And then I'm saying, well, I don't see none of that. And how I'm going to get there? I'm here, but how I'm going to get there? And He started little steps. You do this first. He sent me to a church, put us at a good foundation, started connecting us with other people. Then He started saying, this is what I want you to do. And I would always go back and ask God, okay, you told me to do this, but how I'm going to do this because I don't have the resources. And that's where somebody else might be. You might hear God telling you to do something, and you saying, I don't have the resources. How am I going to do it? But trust Him.
That's key. Trust. Sometimes it's like I've had to get to the position like, bottom line, I know that God has a plan for me. And as long as I know that He has a plan for me, I need to trust Him in every aspect of it. Because I've tried doing it on my own. Insanity. And it hasn't worked. So as long as I know that God has a good plan for me and I know that I'm called according to His purposes, then I have no choice but to just trust Him.
Right.
And you know what, I got to the point, I'm like, it really is none of my business how He's going to do this and how He's going to do that. My thing is that I need to hear from Him. I need to either pray, I need to study His Word, I need to make sure that I'm eliminating some things, I'm adding some things, whatever it is that He's telling me to do to get to that position. And I just kind of, I think about too, it may be something as simple as maybe you have a career, maybe you have your career and you're where God needs for you to be, but maybe you're not, your finances aren't correct.
Right.
And it may be something as simple as, I think Mr. Wise also put into his blog where he was sharing that how sometimes, if your finances aren't in order and maybe it's like you don't know how to save. Maybe it's something as simple as learning how to create a budget.
Yeah.
It's so many little things, but obedience is key. You need to be able to hear from God. You need to be able to trust God.
That's right.
And be obedient.
That's
Whatever it is that He tells you to do. Those baby steps, those little steps. He told you to get up. That did remind me of Abraham. Just get up and leave. That could be very difficult for somebody to do. But when you just take that first step, y'all, the first step.
That's right. Not only that, and with this we're going to close, repositioning yourself, it may be something that may happen in your life that you have to reposition. You might lose a husband, or if financial circumstances, you lost your job. Anything might have happened, and it has caused your life to shift, and you find yourself that you have to reposition yourself. So again, what we say, the first thing is key, pray. Second thing, hear the word of God, hear the voice of God. After that, be obedient to whatever He tells you to do, and then trust Him and walk it out. Walk it out, and God will reposition you, and you will find yourself in a glorious place because you will find yourself in the center of His plan and not your own. Thank you for joining Real Women, Real Talk.